small and they were out in the country, we had to build a cage like this, and we actually went down like 3 feet in the ground all the way around. Yeah. So she could let animals outside.
So what's my spirit animal?
Otter.
An otter?
That or a meat.
Oh my God.
Nice.
Horse.
A horse.
Okay.
What did you base that on?
I see a beautiful stallion, independent, strong-willed, beautiful spirit.
Nice. I'm on board with that.
Yeah? Okay.
I'm not sure what my first choice, but I could.
What would your first choice have been?
I'm like thinking more like a, I don't know quite like a leopard or a jaguar or a
lynx. A lynx is what came to mind
yes,
for me.
yeah,
Interesting.
like more like a fast cat. I don't know what do you call it, a fast cat. I don't know what.
I have been called a cougar before.
Somebody 10 years younger than she is, and then her oldest is 10 years younger than he is. So it's, it's a good marker. I think all comes to light. Please feel free to bring your chairs up.
Yes,
it's very
we want to
inviting.
have a circle-ish. We like that.
Yeah.
So
We just don't want any barriers.
Okay, we won't force people, but please, we're not a very
Do you want us to
formal.
make a full circle?
If
Is
you
that
want
the
to.
best?
No.
No, this is entrepreneurial.
Oh, he's fine. I'll just move him around him.
It's my dream.
I'm used to stepping over dog roads.
Come up, ladies. Come be part of the circle. We're just gonna make a full circle.
That's the real name.
Who's dog? This dog's not even moving.
I don't know.
I
Yeah.
didn't see the dog.
Yeah, the dog is the rug here.
Oh my goodness, how pretty. He's unflappable.
He's a very patient puppy.
Well, he has more space there than he did under the table in the
Yeah.
baby.
Yes. I do a lot.
Yeah.
Because I'm unhappy.
Okay, so what's her spirit animal?
Oh, shoot.
Bear.
A bear.
Wow. Okay.
I love that.
Yes.
Could be a tiger. They chill and then they work real hard and are really good at it.
Cool.
She's like, I'll go for a bear.
Bear is interesting. Why bear?
Calm, but inner strength. Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting all these goosebumps. Thank you. Thank you, Eva.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I think spirit animals can ebb and flow in the different cycles of life, and when you need them, you can call upon them, and super woo woo.
Super woo-woo.
Yeah.
Boy. Where's that other person?
Yeah.
Mary is not going to be able to come back, so we are it.
Okay.
Yes. So if you wouldn't mind, Carrie,
Yeah,
shutting
sure.
the door, or Katie, one of the two of you, or Becca, or somebody in that first.
We'll make the pregnant one do it.
Yeah.
That's all right.
I love you, Joni.
I love you.
Maybe we can switch.
That's what I told her. She said no.
That's why I moved from that chair to this chair. So she's not thinking
There was no confusion.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, well. It's my daughter, by the way, everybody. Kind of proud of her.
Oh, she's very proud of her daughter. Very proud. Oh goodness.
So, welcome to the entrepreneur panel. That is my dreaming of possible is what we came up with. We would like, before we introduce the panel, to have you guys introduce yourselves and what interest you have in entrepreneurship, what you were going to get out of this, but we have to keep it short because there's a bunch of you. So 2 minutes, that's still, so quick,
Are you
think,
timing?
think quick, yes. I have a timer in my head.
You're looking at me, am I starting?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah, you
I'm
can
sorry,
start,
I'm
by the way.
Kelli. I'm apparently her daughter.
I'm apparently her daughter.
She had me in business since I was a kid. Our first business we started together when I was 16, and I have never really had a job, so that's my interest in entrepreneurship. I don't know anything other than it.
I love it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go. My 2 minutes is up.
I'm Carrie. My dad is an entrepreneur and have been taught to figure out what it is I want to do. So I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm a health and fitness coach and a bodybuilding coach. And I'm excited. I love to hear from other women that are powerful and have done what, follow their dreams. It's cool. So.
Awesome.
Becca, and I'm an executive at a national nonprofit organization, and we're kind of in the process of being more strategic about our messaging and our identity and how we position ourselves and our expertise. And so I think that vibes a lot with entrepreneurship, being like really clear about what your goals are and how you communicate them.
Perfect. Yeah.
I'm Robbie, and I'm also proud of my 2 daughters. And grew up with a father who was always an entrepreneur. We knew when to ask for things, when not to. Things were up, down. Yeah. We knew that. Married a husband, he does the same. And I've had a couple businesses, and just my thing. And right now, I'm not doing anything. Kind of fun also.
Becca has 1 million ideas.
Yes,
So.
and I am an idea person, not as good on execution, but you're in a corner, I can get you out of it. Give me a lot of ideas.
Hi, I'm Natasha. I grew up also with a dad, entrepreneur, and my brother is now that, and I would love to have my own business myself, but I don't have the execution. So I have a lot of thoughts on what to do, but just haven't done there.
Hi, I'm Teresa. I actually don't have any interest in being an entrepreneur myself, but this sounded like a fun group. So.
We were in there for your first session.
Oh,
no! We're sorry.
We heard you. We accomplished the goal you expected.
I'm Becca Whitaker. I did not realize that becoming a doctor and opening my clinic also made me an entrepreneur until I was right in the middle of it and realized I had freaking ideas about this side, so it has been Hail Mary after Hail Mary. So that's the cool learning part, but really I set out because I'm here for the people. You guys are fantastic. We're having this good.
My name's Shauna. I came to the first one and just I decided to come again because it didn't seem like I got enough.
wonderful.
That's a nice compliment for you guys.
That says it all, ladies.
I just hired her as my office manager, and I'm very proud of her.
Oh,
She knows how to do the things. I know how to say thank you. She knows how to do the things.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm Tiffany Johnson, and I don't know, I've got a lot of ideas of what I'd like to do, but I thought this would be great to see how it's done.
Okay, I'm Joan Rose, and my father was a personal injury attorney. And I'm retired from MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas.
Awesome.
And I live with her.
She is kind of my adopted friend. Her family lives in Los Angeles, and I came from an entrepreneurial family. My father was in Swedish Steel. I was born and raised in Sweden, and 35 years ago I was hit by a car and nearly killed. I had really, it's in play each and every day, and so I went to private school, worked myself through school, became a therapist, but my health has just, it's just been going downhill. But so my dog has been very instrumental in my healing, but I'm pretty good right now, and so I live in Las Vegas, and after having been an entrepreneur, and I had to because of my health, I had to adjust my work-life balance. But my dream now is to join one of the big sports teams in Las Vegas and there is a profession called canine assisted therapist, because my dog has so much training and bring a calming influence to the players. Because my late husband was a boxing coach. So 30 years ago, I was a boxing judge. That's how I met him. And so I lived that crazy life of professional sports. And after he died, now I'm in my combat. So that's my dream.
Nice.
Cool. So we're introducing ourselves.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Jensen, and I work for the Women's Business Center of Utah. And so actually Debbie is my boss, and I'm the program coordinator. And so that just means that I set up all the trainings and events and things that we have, a lot of behind the scenes kind of thing. I run our Facebook group, so if any of you are interested in that, it's really kind of a long name, but it's Women Business Owners of Southern and Eastern Utah. And so if you'd like to join that group, we have a lot of fun in there. So, and that's kind of me. I'm not really starting a business right now because I work for the Women's Business Center.
My name's Maggie. I've worked in a financial institution for 16 years, but I'm constantly starting businesses with my hobbies and stuff. And so I had a photography business for 8 years. Now I have a jewelry business. I'm a reading practitioner, a doula. So like, anyway, I just increasingly as the years go on, like sitting in the cubicle all day, can't handle it anymore. I've always known I want to get out somehow, but I just need to figure out how to actually get to the end of getting out.
My name's Kelli, and I have a health coaching business, and I've come from a family where nobody was an entrepreneur. They all just went to work. So, I was a nurse for 30 years, and that's what I did. But I knew I wanted to make this change and get into health coaching, and that part it just comes naturally, and I love it. But like Becca, it's like, wait, all this business stuff, I don't know how to do all that, you know? So I'm looking for some help with that. And I was like trying to make up my mind, and I decided on this one after talking to Lisa. And I started coming down here, and I like heard all the laughing. Yes.
We are so proud.
We might not be asked to come back next year.
For the loud world.
Well, thank you all for coming, and I kind of heard a couple of things from everybody, and one of them was kind of getting started, so keep that in mind, you guys. And another is maybe the resource part of finding the help for some of the things that they need. So awesome. I'm Debbie. I am the director of the Women's Business Center. We cover 14 counties, southern Utah, and it's Lisa does all the work. I run around a lot. But we want to take a minute and introduce these three wonderful ladies and what they do, and then we'll get started. So,
Let's start on that end.
oh,
you're switching it up? No, okay, fine.
Yeah.
I'm McKenna Hansen. I was born and raised in southern Utah. I've been in my industry for about 4 years, and prior to that I was a financial analyst. And then I've done a few in between things back and forth. I've won a few awards here and there, and I'm still wondering why I was in this. So, anyways, that's me. I don't know what else to say, because I'd rather you guys will you introduce me? I don't know how to introduce myself.
So in this panel,
So I'm an insurance agent right now.
She's not very good at bragging about herself.
no, she's amazing. She just got an award last night.
Just
It's
last
like your
night.
fifth,
Fourth.
right? Fourth.
Not that I'm counting.
Okay.
So, well, I was the last one to introduce myself last time. So, one, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a business owner,
right? I'm a community member. I participate in women's community events like such as this. I'm starting a little bit of coaching here and there for different things. I have won 4 awards with the insurance company that I work for, Farm Bureau Financial. I was Rookie of the Year. I just got state commercial producer for the 2021 month calendar. I've run a few businesses here in between since I left high school, and I guess that's why I'm here.
Did you notice she did not say she was on the calendar? Just for the calendar month.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Kelli.
Oh, thank goodness.
I'm the comedian of the bunch.
Yes.
My name's Kelli Charlton. I am a 25-year transplant to St. George from San Diego. I left San Diego in the 90s. I am a serial entrepreneur. I have started and grown and closed or sold more businesses than you can imagine. I started as a brownie selling Girl Scout cookies and asking the neighbors to pay for my time to deliver out of my wagon. My first business, I was 13. My father was an accountant. He helped me set that business up. I cleaned the neighbors' houses, saw things that I probably should not have seen from my senior neighbors at 13 years old. And I've just been an entrepreneur my whole life. And I always say I'm high maintenance, and I have to have plenty of money, not for plastic surgery or injections, but for my crazy wild life. I love to whitewater river raft and jump out of airplanes and go up in hot air balloons and swim and sail and dive with sharks and like you name it, any wild crazy thing, I probably have done it. And I do all those things because I had a father who believed in that 35-year longevity with the same company, and he went to work every day miserably, and he came home every day and sat on a chair and watched TV. And my strength is strategy. I came from this very angry father and this very addicted mother, and I came away from that knowing that I had to plan 12 steps ahead. So I'm a strategist. At the very deepest core of me, I'm a strategist. I can play a game of chess and know exactly where we're going to end up. So I don't foresee the future. I'm just a strategist. There you go. And I have 4 children and 5 stepchildren and 6 grandchildren, and I call my ex-husbands by number, not by name.
Okay, your turn.
I'm so boring. Okay, so my name's Joni Anderson. I'm the director of the Small Business Development Center, and really what that means is I just listen to people like you guys who come in and say, I have this really great idea, but I don't know what to do with it. So I help them figure out their steps and how to make their idea an actual business. I grew up, my dad had, back then they were called service stations, not gas stations, because they actually did the mechanics on the vehicles and stuff like that. So I grew up with a dad as an entrepreneur, and ironically, my mother ran out of gas every single month, and my dad was so mad at her because he's like, I own a gas station. So my husband and I have a small business. It's a construction business. We've had it since 1999. At one point we had a couple of framing crews and 10 plus employees. Now it's just him. But I do understand how hard it is to manage payroll and employees and workers' compensation and all of the unfun stuff of being an entrepreneur. But the rest of it's really exciting. So I'm happy to be here.
So, I don't know how it's gonna go after this first question. We'll figure it out as we go. We did last time.
Last time we just hijacked her.
I'm just like, okay, whatever. It was good though, yeah. But I wanna start with a story, because I think stories teach us all, we all learn well from stories, and what I wanna show is that it is possible for you to start a business if you want. They all have some different stories they can share, either of themselves or somebody else, about somebody who's successfully started a business.
You're looking at me like I'm supposed to go again. Am I supposed to start?
Sounds like a really good place to start.
Okay. Okay, so in 2018, I was literally got sucked out of one industry and I fell into insurance. Meaning I was doing everything right in my prior life. And I call it my prior life because I was doing the 8 to 5. I was showing up, I was doing what I was told. And I was fired from my position basically for insubordination because I would not lie to students. Would not lie to students is the last catchy part, right? So anyways, fast forward, I've been with Farm Bureau since May of 2018. I was named Rookie of the Year on the state level for both commercial line, or not commercial, home and auto lines and life lines. And then I just received the award last night for being a top commercial producer in the state. The end of this being, I am a successful insurance agent within my own because you have to build your independence. Like I'm contracted with Farm Bureau, but I'm my own agent within Farm Bureau. So that means I'm in charge of all of my marketing. I'm in charge of branding myself to make sure that people understand they're not just working with Farm Bureau, they're working with McKenna Hansen. And through that, I've done different marketing strategies. Some have worked, some have failed. Some have gotten me really excited about the business. Some have really put my lows in it. And so I think that being successful in any entrepreneur thing it's a roller coaster. You have your highs and your lows, your dips, your turns, your weaves, your whoopties, and that's part of the ride. Like you embrace and you learn and you go throughout those different things. And so being in a 4th year, agent position, I'm really successful for what I've done, and I don't intend on slowing down.
That's good, the highs, lows, it's a roller coaster.
Sorry, I kind of went into one of the other questions there.
No, that's all right, we're making it up as we go after this one.
So first hour, I talked about a business that I owned with my husband, but I'd like to tell you a story about a gentleman that I know who is like me, a serial entrepreneur. Except he doesn't do it one business at a time. He starts 4 or 5 or 6 businesses all at the same time. He'll basically say, okay, I have $1,000 towards this one and $2,000 towards this one. $20,000 later, one of them will launch. And within the last 2 years, that's exactly what happened. He sold 2 or 3 businesses that he had going on, Christmas light business and a pest control business. And he makes millions every time he does this. But this last couple years, he started 6 businesses, and I could tell you all of them: a CBD growing company, Bitcoin mining, you name them, right? They're just weird businesses. And one of them was a pool business, and he didn't know how that would go. He'd never built a pool before, right? Garnered all the people he needed, used his own money, had a limit. Mary talked this morning about having a limit, like knowing that if I blow $1 million or $100,000 or $10,000, then and it doesn't work out, I'm gonna stop. And this man took off in this pool business. Everything else went by the wayside. He doesn't consider that a loss because it was all a learning experience. And this last year in 2021, his pool business cleared over $22 million.
Whoa.
2nd year business, top new company franchise within this giant company. Same thing, he was responsible for everything. When you talk about bootstrapping, right? A little bit at the higher level, not starting from the ground floor. But he never went out and got a loan. He never took money from anyone else, doesn't have any partners. Got his dad, who was an accountant, to come in and kind of, help out for a pool. And now here we are 2 years later, and the dad's still working for him, but now he's getting paid. Right? Stories like that are inspiring for me, right? Not all of us are cut out for a 9-to-5 job. And some of us who work the 9-to-5 job, we're like the cougar, we're like the tiger in the cage, right? And we have to get out of that cage. We simply cannot work 9 to 5. And I think there's a big lesson to be learned with that. And that is, don't be afraid if the door opens. Because when it does, bust out of there like you have no business going back. Yeah, so.
Well, I already shared about my husband and my business, and I'm not supposed to tell about the clients that I meet with because it's all confidential. However, I have had a few give me permission, and one of them is Kate Meek with Pork Bellies. So they started here in Cedar City, and then a couple years ago, right before COVID hit, unfortunately, they said, we want to expand to St. George. So they came in and I helped them get their financials together to present to the bank so that they could open their St. George branch. And I know it was probably, the timing was really hard, and it still is for any food service industry. Most industries are having a hard time right now just to find people, to employ. But it's those types of people that are just like, we know we do an excellent job at what we do. We make good food and we make people feel good, and we want to do that here and here and here and here, and that's how entrepreneurship starts.
Awesome. Well, I think instead of going to here, I think we should address the two questions that we talked about at the beginning that we kind of heard through here. So I'd like you guys, and we'll start and go this way this time. What do you think it takes to get a business started? How do you get from, I got this great idea, but I'm not, I'm scared, I don't know. What do they need to do to make it happen?
Yes, sir. Go for it.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm also a public speaker. And being a public speaker often lends itself to coaching other people with that opportunity to get out and present themselves. Because we're all selling one thing for sure, and that is we're selling us, right? So anytime I coach someone to speak, I always want to see what they're bringing to the table first without coaching them first. So I want to see from the deepest place, what do you bring? And so I think when it comes down to starting a business, there's one thing that I personally believe really strongly, and that is the SWOT analysis that you will do when you're building a business plan. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities in the community or wherever you're planning to go, and threats that your new business, potential business, might face. You could go to Joni and Joni would help you put that SWOT analysis together. But I really believe, after all of my years of entrepreneurial experience, when you do that SWOT analysis by yourself without any preparation, and you have to dig in and find out what are your strengths, and you have to be clear about those strengths. What are the weaknesses that face you? What opportunities might come if you start this business? And also, what are the threats? And then you take it to someone like Joni or Mary, who was here earlier. When you take it, you have a heads up. You're already entrenched in the effort that it takes to find out what are those 4 places that you need to explore before you even really consider launching a business or going further. And then you're not wasting her time or Mary's time. You're actually sitting down and you have that knowledge, and then she can add to it. But you've done the legwork first, and I think that makes all the difference in the world.
Well, almost and I'm sure Debbie's the same. Anytime someone comes to me, I say, this is a great start, but you have homework. And so then we just help you figure out your checklist. Well, if it's a SWOT analysis, that's what it is. But a lot of times it's, let's survey our customers. Let's try it. Let's see if people even want what I have to sell. Maybe I'm asking the wrong price. Maybe I have the wrong color. You have to try it, but you have to do your homework and really validate that idea first.
I think in going back to a supply and demand model, does the community need it? Where does it fit? And where's the need, right? Because as like Kelly said, we're all finding, in essence, we're all selling ourselves or the services that we offer and bring to the table. I specifically sell insurance products right now. That's my strength. That's my sometimes weakness, because I get too caught up in the moment of it, right? But if you're selling coaching, if you're selling doula services, if you're not sure where you want to be or what ideas to bring to the table, do some market research. Because if it's supposed to be here, then the past will get you there. I talked about some exhaustive options in the prior session of get to the next exhaustive option. Get that far. Figure out how to exhaust every potential thing, and it's gonna lead you to the next something. You know, whether it's a supply and demand, like, I really wanna do this, and this kind of leads into like turning your hobbies or the things you really love doing into businesses. Can I lead into that a little bit? Do you mind? Okay. But figuring out when a hobby becomes a business, and in my opinion, I don't want my hobby that I enjoy to turn into a money-making activity, because I could then start resenting it. So I want to keep them very separate, right? But if making little girls' bows, you know, is really easy and it's really marketable and they sell like hotcakes, then that's a huge market right now. You can sell packs of them online for $20 and your profit margin's over 60%. That's a huge niche right now, right? There's trinket things and things going on. So it's really the strategy in which you put your product into the supply and demand market right now, and how well you can advertise, or finding the people that need your services and finding that balance of what price to charge. Because you don't want to give things away, because that diminishes the return of other people in your like category. If construction's the best way to relate this, I suppose, is you have people that are licensed in very specific trades, like plumbing and electrical. Like, they have to be state licensed, just like a real estate agent, an insurance agent, and a hairdresser, right? They have specific qualifications. Well, if you have a handyman who's not licensed in those things doing that kind of work, then it's diminishing the license and the integrity that the license holds. So you have to find the supply and demand within that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So, since we're talking about starting a business, I'm gonna kind of blend a couple of them together. What do you think you should have? You were talking about your strengths, weaknesses, and all that. What kind of strengths, personality-wise, do you need to have to be successful in business? How about, you wanna start, Joni? Or talent-wise?
You know, I think entrepreneurs, they're all over the place, really. Like, you could get somebody really creative who has zero financial background, and they can still make a dynamic and a successful business. I think you need to have good organization skills, good leadership skills, good communication skills. You need to be a go-getter. But you can also find people for your team. If you don't want to do the books or know how to do the books, hire somebody or bring someone on who's really good at that. I feel like even as women, well, especially as women, we feel like we need to do it all. It's hard to delegate. So I think we just need to know that there are resources out there to help. And I did want to talk about some of the resources. Is that okay? And then you can go back to okay. So a lot of people don't know that there are resources to help small businesses, and there are a lot. So I'm just talking Southern Utah, but statewide there are a lot of resources. There's small business development centers, which is what I'm a part of, and there are 14 of those offices throughout the state. There's the Women's Business Center, which Debbie and Lisa run for Southern Utah, and they cover a lot of counties themselves, which is amazing. We offer free one-on-one business advice, and it's confidential, so take advantage. There's SCORE, which stands for Service Corps of Retired Executives, and they offer mentoring, education. In Cedar City, they offer a 6-week startup course, Start Smart course every 6 weeks. There's online courses. There's the Cedar City Business and Innovation Center and the Atwood Innovation Plaza, which has makerspace, 3D printers, a sewing room, prototyping. There are just so many resources that people should take advantage of, and most of them are free. So make sure that if you or if someone you know is interested in entrepreneurship or thinks they might be, send them to one of the resources, and they can dig into it and see. Maybe it's not for them, but maybe it is.
And Mary talked earlier about at SUU, the business school and the entrepreneur program.
Yep.
And then down in St. George, and I'm not sure if SUU or Cedar has this, but Dr. Wayne Provost. So if you are a manufacturer, if you have an idea, he is, I don't even know how many anymore, hundreds of patents that he has secured either for himself or for other people. So all free. right? I mean, it's all free. And those are the services you wanna take advantage of. Yeah.
I think bouncing off of what Joni was saying is hire where you're weak. Like if I'm not good at marketing, then I need to hire somebody or at least consult with somebody on what to do in marketing, avenues. If I'm not good at the books, I'm hiring somebody for the books. But I think every entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur, let's kind of define that a little bit, is somebody who wants to go outside the box. That you want to create your own box, your own cage, and not saying I'm restricting myself, but this goes back into like how I can do all of the things I do, right? Like I mentioned, I'm a few things, right, in this world. Like I have to be present in the moment, but I also have children and those things. So I time block, and that's kind of my thing. I have so many hours to be productive in my business. That means I have to sell, do the books, make sure I'm keeping all of my underwriters at bay, and I'm prospecting. Making sure I'm finding new clients and people that I need to help and assist with, right? But then I also block out those different times. But if I don't have time to do my accounting and I just want to be given a check of this is my budget for marketing or this is my own salary, then I want to give that to an accountant. For sure. It's worth the $100 and something, I think I pay $200 a month, okay? Everybody's like, oh my gosh, that's $2,400 a year. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, how do you know? That in and of itself has saved me $10,000 of time, right? Hiring somebody to do my marketing, right? Which is a whole nother animal, and I just started really going into that avenue. I know, Kelly, it's taken me a long time. But figuring out what I want to market and how I want to market myself, right? And where that strategic threshold is, especially in my industry. I'm in insurance. Everybody doesn't like talking about insurance. It's the most boring subject. Let's be real. But who doesn't want to work with this personality? Well, I hope I'm not that loud. But I'm really fun and dynamic in and of itself. But I know where I'm strong and I know where I'm weak. And I want to hire out my weak, or at least learn as much as I need to get through a little bit, and then be able to eventually hire that onto my team.
So I want to kind of add to both of them. So you both said your businesses with your husbands. Anybody in here, just tiny raise of hand, considering a business with a partner or spouse? Okay, so years ago in the 90s, we started, my husband number 2, and I started a heating and air conditioning business. And we actually had a rule in our house, and I don't know how you guys are, but it was really important to me. We both were early risers. We would wake up super early before the kids, and I had 4, he had 5, we merged the families. His kids didn't live with us, but they were always over because I had good food. So one of the things I want to say is that we would wake up in the morning, and when we woke up in the morning, we could speak about business. We could talk about anything that was going on. We could talk about the schedule. We could talk about money. We could talk about what needed to be purchased, because he was out in the field and I was in the office running the office. But at 4 o'clock, when the doors closed to the business, we did not talk about business at home after 4 o'clock, because we had to have husband and wife time, not business partner time. And I would highly recommend that if you are considering starting a business with a spouse, even a partner that is your best friend kind of thing, you have to have boundaries.
Yes. So
that you can continue to live and not just live your business. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I think going into that time blocking mentality, it's not mean to time block. Mm-hmm. So I'll just break down my week really quickly. I have 35 hours, a total of 35 hours in a 5-day period to work, do my self-care, and make sure I get groceries, basically, unless I want to take my kids to the grocery store, which all of us have experienced that, right?
And hers are 2 and 5.
I have a 2 and a 5-year-old, okay? But in order to make sure that I have my business hat on, which business has a whole plethora of hats in and of itself, okay? I have a business hat, I have a friend hat, I have a self-care hat, I have a mom hat, and I have a mom hat for a 5-year-old, and I have a different mom hat for the 2-year-old. Right? My 5-year-old was kicking and screaming, literally, as I left my house to come to this last session. And it's breaking my heart. And I don't know how to deal with it, but I can't engage in that right now. I have to revisit that when I get back home. Right? But it is not It is to your own detriment if you don't time block. And one, take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. A lot of people in this room have learned that lesson in very different ways. But you have to take care of yourself first. It is the most unselfish thing you will ever do.
No, no sorries. One thing I wanted to add to what you guys had said, because I always think this is a very important thing about giving away, hiring a bookkeeper, hiring an accountant. As a business owner, you need to understand your numbers. Whether you do them or not, it is very, very important for you to understand your numbers. First, so that you can make good decisions and that you understand the information your bookkeeper is giving you. And second, has anybody ever heard of embezzlement before? You know, it happens all the time. If you don't have a clue what's going on in your business, whether you do the bookkeeping or not, you need to understand your books. So I wanted to add that. And I love that you brought up self-care, because that goes down the toilet when people start a business.
So true.
And also I was in business with my husband for 30 years. And yes, if you don't set those boundaries at 10 o'clock at night, you're still doing books, and at 3 in the morning and every vacation. So yes, set those boundaries. So thank you, that was all really good. What have we not covered? You guys have a favorite question?
I have a question,
Okay, awesome.
like with your insurance. Because sometimes I'll have a good idea and then I say, oh my gosh, there's so many people doing the same thing. I mean, there's gotta be a lot of insurance agents around here. How did you have the confidence or whatever to go into a business where there already was, I would say, a fair saturated amount?
It's the law of numbers in my head, because if everybody in this room has insurance in some capacity, right? Whether you purchase it online, whether you purchase it with an agent, whether you have a family member in it, there's the likelihood that you either know of or are related to an agent, at least more than half of this room, right? So there's a 60% chance that somebody is related to an insurance agent in here. So you go into a market, and one that pays decent, you know, I make a fair amount of money for the schedule I have, right? And it goes into the flexibility. So I wanted to be able to be the mom, to be present, and still have a flexible schedule. A lot like real estate in that same regard. There's so many real estate agents. But when you look at the numbers, and real estate's kind of more relatable, I think, to most people. But an average real estate agent only sells 2 to 5 homes a year. And they make enough money off of those transactions to survive. An average insurance agent, if they're producing well, only survives 5 years. And then they transition into a different industry, they become underwriters, they transition out of the industry completely. It's a very transient market. You get paid pretty well in the first few years, and then you get into different things, or you're making enough money that you can go out and invest different ways. So you have office staff running your office. There's some agents in town that do that, right? They have enough good office staff that the agent themselves isn't there, and they can do other things. So is our market saturated with insurance agents, or with other things that you guys are considering going into? Probably not, because it's so movable, and people like working with me as an individual, because yeah, like I click all the buttons and I make sure they have all the coverages, but at the end of the day, when you do business with me, you know that I'm taking care of you. And not only am I taking care of you, I'm taking care of your business, your house that you go to home to every night, the loved ones that are driving your vehicles. I'm making sure on that bad day that you have, that it's not a bad year and it's not a bad lifetime. And I'm not selling insurance right now, right? I'm sitting here speaking to you guys as an entrepreneurial panel, but I believe that I do good in this world, and that if I start hiding from the world again, then I'll turn into this really ugly mess that I never liked being. But if I can step out and show the world my light, and right now that's insurance, and that's how I can bring hope and joy to the world again, by knowing that there are people that care, and that there are people that want to do good in this world.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
question. The know your numbers one, what would you say for somebody starting? Is it an efficient way to know your numbers? So if you're like hiring, you understand what people are saying, or starting different businesses, what are the resources that you found most effective for that?
So generally, I'm trying to understand your question. So like
if you don't come from a background that speaks finance,
okay.
then when you hire a bookkeeper and they're like, here's your business.
What is this telling me? Is that, yeah.
I'd take that 6-week score class.
I would say a basic accounting
Yep,
class.
I agree.
So you
Yeah, you
understand
need
the basics.
In some regard, I think it can be very simplified. You want them to be able to tell you what you brought in, like in a very add, subtract, total way. What you're charging in, what your top line is, what your expenses are, whether that's payroll, office, materials, and what you brought down to the bottom line. This is the profit basically for this week. And I would do it as every week until you are comfortable with the numbers and knowing and have maybe speak them in percentages, because we all understand a pie, right? They're good, tasty, sometimes cherry. No, nobody's lips are watering. Oh my God. So if you do it in a percentage, then you can go through and say, well, I brought in 100%, right? Which could equal $1,000 or whatever that is. Payroll was $700. Office expense was $100. So I only brought home that week, or total profit in my $200, right? Did I do that right? Okay. Right? So that's a 20% profit, okay, that you brought all the way down to the bottom line. Do you want to survive at 20%, or do you want to increase that to 30 or 40 or 50 or 60%? Where do you want your profit margin to be, and what do you want your nest egg to be? Because really that's how quickly or how slowly your ebb and flow is going to cushion you.
The other thing is understand, I've had a lot of people come in and say, well, it cost me $30 to make this and I sell it for $60, so I'm making profit. And you have to understand all the overhead, the time, paying yourself. You need to allow for your time in things when you're figuring out if you're making money, because when you start subtracting that out, you might be losing money every month, and how long do you want to keep doing that?
And I can tell you that most of the people I meet with are not sufficiently giving themselves credit for their time. They're giving away their time for pennies.
So I have coached a lot of people over the years, and the thing that you're talking about is so spot on. I always tell people, look at your business as you can't say, well, I can do this for free. You have to look at the true cost of doing business. If I weren't around for the next 6 weeks because I got COVID, right, or I broke my leg and I couldn't show up to work, and I had to get someone else to come in and do that work for me, whatever that is, what would it cost me to bring someone else in? If I'm not making that amount of money at the very bare minimum, it's time to move on. It's time to get to the end of that road and find which way I want to go. And I wanted to say something, you kind of sparked something for me. Steve Jobs once said, we can look at our resumes, right, and we can say, what the heck, this resume is weird, like it doesn't match up at all. But Steve Jobs said, you don't know how the dots connect, how you got to be a doula when your resume says you work for Zions Bank, or America First Credit Union. But the reality of that is every single dot on that map lends itself to what you know if you're starting a business or you're becoming an entrepreneur. And so you walk away from that job as a SEC auditor and you want to go start a new business doing something else, you're taking everything you gleaned from that job and you just metabolize it, internalize it, categorize it, time block it, make your life simple and know where your strengths are, know where your weaknesses are, and then you go out and just bust down doors and do what you need to do.
I'm an auditor.
There you go.
Sorry, she keeps pulling all these things out of the air, and I'm like, I work for a credit union.
I'm a strategist.
Yeah.
Like she knows all the things.
I totally get it. way back when as a Girl Scout cookie seller, right? And everything that I've learned along the way, I never want to drag a red wagon again. But everything I've learned along the way has kept me from bouncing that red wagon on my heel, right? So,
Yeah,
you had
I
something.
just wanted to say something. In Las Vegas, studies have shown that the development of medicine is people are wanting more and better answers. It's really going into health and wellness. So the doctors in Las Vegas, one of the big drive is medical tourism, and there is an organization called Las Vegas Heals, HEALS, and if you want to look it up, it also serves as a network and information and support for doctors to move in that direction and have other sources of income, because it's really hard to be a doctor in some ways, and there's so much you have to know, and it's not easy with expenses and insurance and this and that, so that could be maybe something for you to look into.
Yes.
I was just wondering, for each of you, what is your definition of being a successful entrepreneur? Whether that, what is that to you? Like, is it a number you, like, what's your definition of success for yourself?
me, it's happiness.
Yeah, for me, it's being able to jump out of a hot air balloon.
That is not mine.
No,
You jump out of a hot air balloon?
That's next.
You jump out of planes, but don't you ride in a hot air balloon?
Yeah.
You
No,
jump
but
out of
when-
planes?
Okay,
You do
just-
both?
You want to know the definition of success? For me, the definition of success is having enough money in my bank account that I don't have to worry if I have to have surgery, or I don't have to worry if I say, okay, what's my quarterly trip this time, or what's my quarterly crazy this time, right? Success for me is really about going home and having a peaceful home and having enough money in the bank that I just get to live. I don't have to work to survive. I just get to work because that lends itself to the other side of the story. Now, remember, I don't have little kids anymore, right? I mean, my youngest is 31, so I can go do what I want. If I died jumping out of an airplane, they would be very sad, but they would also say at my eulogy, hot damn, Mom died doing what she does best, right? What she loves, right? I think I mentioned this earlier. I don't want to be my dad who gets to the end of his 85th year and says, wow, I worked for someone else for 35 years. I was in misery the entire time. I hated going to work 9 to 5 and living in my cage. And he got to the very end of his life, and 2 days before he died, he said, you know, I had a good life, but I never really lived my life. That for me is the definition of success, right? Being the exact opposite of that, where I get up every day, put my feet on the floor and go, what's next, right? What do I get to do today?
And Carrie, I want to honor the season of life that you're in.
Right.
And take time to honor that, right? Because whether it was an easy pregnancy or it was a heart, there are some people that don't have that opportunity. And to fully embrace what that is and to sit in it. Sometimes it's not fun to sit in, right? But literally sit and breathe in the season of life that you're in. And for all of us, we all have very different seasons. We are all in very different areas in our life. But going through the motions, if you don't go through the motions, they will happen to you regardless. Becca, I need you to contact Sarah McAllister. She runs 2 medical groups out of St. George. Runs meaning she organizes between 15 and 20 West Medicine and 15 to 20 East Medicine practitioners. And she heads up what they look like. And I think you getting wrapped into your numbers and what those numbers should look like and where you want to be versus where you are will help you when you have the same type of people around you for the medical. So, reach out to her.
Don't leave, I have her phone number in my phone.
I was gonna say, I don't know if I have her cell phone anymore, but reach out to her. I think the most thing, like defining success, at least for me, is being able to go home and not care what company I work for. Because people do business with me, whatever that business is, right? I have a marketable skill, and that's me. And I adapt, and I went through a childhood of extreme volatility, right? But from that, I have learned to adapt quicker, faster, stronger, better. And I honor that because I know, and I freely say this, if I got fired today, I'd have a job tomorrow, right? I would make money somehow because I am not too good for anything. I'll go and clean hotel rooms, I'll go bus tables, but I will survive.
Awesome. Who else? More questions?
You got lots of wisdom sitting here, take advantage of it.
Anything you want to know more about?
All questions are open.
See, before we didn't have enough time.
Yeah.
Now we're like,
How did we
Fine.
do that? We got 10 more minutes.
I think one of the questions was, so, I think it was like, where do I start? You
Right.
know,
Oh, yeah.
So, usually it's just making yourself start, you know, start somewhere. Even if it's just asking a friend out to lunch and saying, this crazy idea, what do you think? And bouncing that idea. Just start somewhere. Ask for help. And then it just seems to snowball, right? Like, if it's a good idea, it's gonna work, and you'll get people behind you who will help you.
I had a question. How do you manage the stress of being an entrepreneur? Because there's a lot, I mean, like you said, there's a lot of up and down. There's, when you're first starting out, the stress of getting clients or whatever it is, and then maybe then the pressure, you do have a ton of clients and then you're overwhelmed, and so how do you manage the stress of being an entrepreneur?
Come on, Miss Entrepreneur.
So I want to say it's as time blocked as I can.
Yeah.
That sounds really generic, and everybody teaches that. But if I am at home, I am at home, and I am present. Because it's worthless for me to be home and not be present. As I manage my clients, I don't let them manage me. I will answer my phone between working hours. I very rarely, and Becca and Debbie know this very well about me, I very rarely miss a lunch with my children. I have 4 hours away from them, from 8 to noon and from 1 to 5. And unless otherwise traveling because of, I had a second office in another location for a little while. You know, or I had to run down to St. George. But even a St. George trip, I can meet with 3 clients and be back in a 4-hour period. So I'm very efficient in the hours that I have, and I leave it. For insurance specifically, nobody on a coverage, I think by law I have like 30 days to make a change. And nobody is going to live or die based on a change I make on a policy, right? Now, if I didn't sell a life insurance policy, that's where it hits harder. But I make sure and talk about that with all my clients because selfishly it's about me not knowing if you have life insurance or not. Because I want to be able to show up to somebody's services and honor them and know that I did everything I could do to make sure their family wasn't financially impacted. But that's a very selfish and unselfish thing, I don't know. So stress goes back also into self-care. Sorry, Kelly.
No, I was just gonna say, I think stress also is manageable. Time blocking works, self-care is super important. I learned early on, you know, with all those kids, I remember being young. I was a young newlywed, and I was pregnant and I was managing an apartment complex. We were saving for a house. And I was teaching seminary, early morning seminary. And I would wake up at 3 in the morning and I would study. And then I would exercise. And then I would get ready for my day, and I was out the door by 5:15. And that time blocking and planning and strategy saved my bacon more than once. And even though things were stressful, I had already, everything was laid out for me. I had already done all the planning. So I think when we talk about being an entrepreneur, we have this vision, which I would really like to suggest that you change this vision, the way you look at it. And the vision is, oh my gosh, I have this shelf with 15 hats and I have to do it all, which we've just talked about. If I'm not good with numbers, I automatically know I have to have a partner in my accountant, okay? And I'm not just hiring an accountant, I'm hiring a new best friend. Sort of a, if you will, sorry this is gonna be on camera, a friend with benefits, right? Because I think it's so important for us to know what we can manage and what we can't manage. I hated doing books after hours, and I hired this woman, her name was Freddie Gunn. I hired this woman who came in, and she did more than do my books. She actually navigated the financial structure of our business between my second husband and I. Because he saw it one way, and I saw it a different way, and we could not meet in the middle, and she was our mediator. And it kept us in the black.
One really quick thing that I'd like to go around the room really quick, but self-care seems like a really big thing.
Yeah.
It's a 5-minute I wash my face. It's a 10-minute shower by yourself.
What?
For me, I mean, as simple as that sounds, those are all self-care actions.
Yeah.
But being diligent and making sure you're doing those things, it's taking a walk outside without shoes, feeling the grass. Me and Kelly like to garden, we're, dirt junkies. But, I mean, really, it's those 5-minute self-care things.
So for me, it's a little bit different. For me, it's about exercise because I have way too much energy. And if I don't get up in the morning and exercise, I run at a high cortisol level all day long. And that doesn't work for me. So if I can't get out that energy, right, like the tiger out of the cage, if I can't get rid of that energy first thing in the morning, I'm really no good all day long. I'm just not. And by the time 4 o'clock rolls around, I just want to climb into bed and go to sleep because I'm done. I've already run at such a high level.
What other self-care things do people do?
Yeah. What do you do for self-care?
Apparently not enough. I think the biggest thing I do is just like give myself a set amount of time to decompress. Even if it's 10 minutes, just do something if it's stalking TikTok. I mean,
whatever. Whatever's different for everybody.
Yeah.
I can say yes.
Yes.
So I think in our culture, especially as entrepreneurs, especially as women, we get a double whammy where it's kind of like stress becomes like a badge almost. Like you run at a high level enough and get up enough early and exercise enough and do all this, then you must be important or valuable or enough. And I think I've never met a woman in this capacity that doesn't know she needs to do self-care, but when you are overrunning yourself, it's like, that's just one more thing, like, stop talking to me.
Yeah.
I don't have time for a massage. And I think it's shifting, like McKinnon said, your view of what actually takes care of yourself. And for me, it becomes different increments of time because I'm almost like testing myself to say, like, am I important enough that right now, this phone call that I need to have with my sister because I'm ready to scream at my teenager because she just like telling me this is teenagers and we're all right. That's self-care for me. And if I know I'm putting it off because of my list of other people need me, then I'm not caring for myself, even if I am doing something that looks like self-care.
And it really does look different for every person based on their season, based on what they're going through. I mean, I've always been an early riser because you catch the best waves early in the morning, right? And the wind is better, so the water's glass. You go sailing, you want to go early in the morning. So for me, growing up in San Diego, that was always that clarity time, right? You get out on the water, hear the birds, you're watching the sun come up. It was perfect. So for me, even at my age, I'm still up early, and bedtime is at 8:30, right? Like the lights go out at 9:30, end of story, always. I'm a terrible weekend partier anymore. I could never do it before, but now I'm like, I'm sorry, that's past my bedtime. We were just in Florida for a week, and I'm like, you want to go where? Dinner at what time? I'm in bed, sorry.
Well, on that, it is 3 o'clock. Okay, I love this. We could keep going for hours. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes, well, you know where to find us. Joni and I are behind Cal Ranch in that building there. Come stop in anytime.
And it's Chick Week at Cal Ranch this week.
Oh,
I'm just saying, take your kids, go in, sit down, let the little chicks run over those kids. Talk about happiness.